Well, you're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Right now at 7, our very own Melissa Alexis shares how several workers from Carthage are making their way to Florida to help with cleanup from storm damage.
Also, Hurricane Milton made landfall yesterday evening. We'll hear how 2 Pittsburgh residents found themselves in the middle of evacuation efforts.
And we got a few clouds out there this morning, even a couple of stray showers. We'll have a look at that forecast, get you out the door. Coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Chris Warner. It is just after 7 a.m. on this Thursday.
Here we are.
Tuesday, but Thursday morning. It is October the 10th.
Yeah, here we are.
Spooky season.
For some folks, it doesn't feel like spooky season.
No, it does not really, and that's just unfortunate.
It really is.
And I mean, granted, depending on where you go, it's already Christmas at some locations.
Sure,
so,
yeah. Wow.
It's just, you know.
It's unbelievable stuff.
It is. It's been very warm, and then the store's trying to make you feel cooler, I guess, by putting Christmas out a little early. And, of course, we've been talking about Hurricane Milton now for the last several days, now officially making landfall late yesterday.
Yes, and Florida residents were preparing for Hurricane Milton, but people are still recovering from damage from Helene.
Workers with the Carthage Water and Electric Plant traveled to Tallahassee to respond to the damage from Helene. KOAM's Melissa Alexis has more.
These folks are boots on the ground, immediately responding to the emergency.
Linemen from Carthage Water and Electric Plant in Carthage traveled to Tallahassee before Hurricane Helene hit in anticipation of the damage.
A lot of tall, 80, 100-foot tall pine trees that are down. Obviously, they drag everything down with them.
The linemen's main focus was to help Tallahassee residents regain power.
Through the night, you hear the wind and the rain, you do hear that some. You're a little bit sheltered just because of the hotel you're in or wherever it is you're staying. And then when we woke up the next morning, we had 53,000 people out of power.
CWEP sent 6 linemen to Tallahassee to help out with Helene, and now they have 4 linemen in Orlando to help with Hurricane Milton.
It takes a lot of time for the water in Orlando to dissipate to get to a point where they can actually go in and make some of the needed repairs.
Be devastating. Milton looks like it is. It could turn. It just kind of depends on, so they're afraid of water, they're afraid of wind and trees.
Crews from Carthage Water and Electric Plant worked 16-hour days working to restore power to the affected areas. Reporting in Carthage, Melissa Alexis, KOAM News.
Well, members of the Carthage Water and Electric Plant crew left Missouri on Monday to go to Orlando and respond to Hurricane Milton.
And of course, a lot going on down there. Milton itself making its way off the Florida Peninsula, still a Category 1 storm, and a number of tornado reports yesterday. 45 tornado reports in the peninsula of Florida.
Unbelievable.
And it's incredible what they experienced there yesterday with the hurricane, what they're going to continue to experience. We'll have a little more on Milton here in just a few more minutes, but let's get you out the door first with this. This is a camera, and it is located on top of a building at 4th and Broadway in the city of Pittsburgh, and it is looking back toward the east. So we got some clouds, got some haze out there as well. Heading over to our camera at 7th and Rangeline, there's some clouds, some haze we got to deal with once again as we're starting to get a little more of that smoke from wildfires out to our west. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline in Joplin, looking to the southwest. We get some clouds out there once again. And from the KDOT camera, 69 East 520th Avenue just south of Pittsburgh. Looking good. There goes a Pepsi delivery. So if you're looking for Pepsi, it's on its way. Skywatch Storm Tracker. Couple isolated showers out here. We've got one south of Parsons, just to the southwest of Oswego, right around the Independence and Coffeyville areas, and one to the north of Newata. And you can see this is extraordinarily isolated, and that's how it's going to be as we head through today. We have an opportunity for relatively or very isolated shower or thunderstorm out in our western counties through the morning and into the afternoon. So in this green zone, it's unfortunately not a blanket of rain, but it is an opportunity for a stray shower storm as we head through the afternoon and into the early evening hours. Quick look at temperatures. 57 in Joplin. Well, that's a long line of cars. 55 in Pittsburgh. And as we look at temperatures across the area, Some chilly spots, but they're starting to come back up. We got some 50s, 49, the cool spot in Grove. That's Stockton at 48. The rest of us, though, hanging out into the 50s and a couple of low 60s out there. Highs today, once again, 10, 15 degrees above normal. So we go mid-upper 80s. An isolated shower storm possible out west. Skies clearing later this evening. We're going to have a really hot day come Saturday, and then we have another cold front coming in. We'll go over those details and, of course, have the latest on Milton here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, we'll check in with you soon, Chris. Well, Northeast Oklahoma authorities investigate the discovery of a body. Ottawa County Sheriff's Office confirms the discovery of a man's body near 22nd Northeast at the Tar Creek Bridge. Now, the Grand River Dam Authority has requested assistance from the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation at what they call a suspicious death crime scene. The Miami Police Department is also working the case. We'll bring you more details as this story develops on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, unsealed court documents reveal a more clear timeline of the hit-and-run fatality that happened back in August in Cherokee County. Rocco Joseph of Joplin is charged with felony leaving the scene of a fatal crash where a pedestrian, 60-year-old Gary LaTurner of Galena, was killed. Now, Joseph's father, Dr. John H. Joseph, is charged with leaving the scene of a fatality accident and contributing to a child's misconduct or deprivations. Now, the Kansas Highway Patrol obtained search warrants for the cell phones of Joseph and his father. The GPS locations compared with multiple security cameras put the son at the scene of the fatal crash, meeting with his father in Missouri, and then both returning together to observe the Kansas crash scene 40 minutes later. LaTurner's body was found in the south ditch of K66 10 hours after the crash. We have more on the history of this case as well as extensive court documents on our website. It's KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court is grappling with a life or death decision. Yesterday, the justices heard oral arguments regarding an appeal for Richard Glossip. The Oklahoma death row inmate was convicted of arranging the murder of a man in 1997. The High Court must determine if state courts should review allegations that prosecutors withheld evidence relevant to the case. Now, the novelty of this case is the fact that both the state and the inmate agree the conviction should be overturned.
What an honor it was to represent the Attorney General in the state of Oklahoma in this case. As the Supreme Court has said on other occasions, it's not every day that an Attorney General confesses error. And I think it's one of the noblest things that a prosecutor can do is to recognize that a prosecution the state has procured cannot stand and that there should be a retrial.
Now, the 61-year-old Glossip has eaten his last meal on death row 3 times. Each of those scheduled executions were stayed. The impacts of Hurricane Milton are already being felt by some residents in the 4 states. KOAM Samantha Walker sat down with 2 Pittsburgh natives who experienced the storm evacuations firsthand.
So it was kind of surreal. You could see panic hitting Monday, and we were just ready to get out of there.
Maddie Burdick, a Pittsburgh native, loves playing college softball in Daytona Beach. When Hurricane Helene hit, she was allowed to shelter in her dorm. But as Hurricane Milton nears, it became obvious that wasn't an option for her.
But Milton, it just kept getting worse, and we were just thinking of how we were going to evacuate when it was possible, just because of classes and everything like that. So it was a little more stressful, just trying to figure out plans and everything like that, because it started to look even worse as it went on.
Her mom, Jennifer, was visiting when news of the hurricane broke.
The weather just completely shifted, and it got really windy, and the tide started coming. It almost looked like the ocean was a little angry.
Yeah.
So we went back to our hotel, and we had already been watching the weather, but we realized, okay, this is probably, like, it's time to we went ahead and booked her ticket.
As they tried to leave the area, they saw how others were preparing for the hurricane. Many of those staying purchased generators and boarded up their homes. Others tried to move as far from the storm's projected path as possible.
Traffic was already really, really backing up. And gas prices, in a matter of, 3 hours, gas prices went from like $2.60 something to $3.15, and you could just see the lines of vehicles lining up for gas.
Jennifer and Maddie say they're grateful to have made it out of the area when they did and are thinking about those near the coast.
I have a couple of friends and teammates that are still in Fort Myers. Like we have Fort Myers and then some are in Orlando, so it's just kind of like praying for them as well.
Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Well, Maddie says she isn't sure when her college will resume classes, but she has a ticket to return to Daytona Beach Monday night. And those are our top news stories this half hour. Coming up, well, you may know him as Pedro from the beloved cult classic Napoleon Dynamite. Efren Ramirez is with us this morning with an invitation to tonight's screening in Miami. And after the break, we'll have Dustin Luno from the Joplin Fire Department with us to share a few tips to keep in mind when you light your favorite fall candle. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Well, fall is here, and along with pumpkin patches and apple cider, it can come those fall scented candles. We have Dustin Luno from the Joplin Fire Department with us this morning with a few tips to keep in mind before you light your next candle. Good morning to you.
How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being with us. As always, happy to have you here. Talk to me a little bit about, candle safety, especially as we get into the fall and winter time.
Yeah, so it is the season, right? It's getting
Right.
cooler.
Yes.
It's getting darker a little earlier, and everybody loves to have that fall scent in their house or whatever. Just be careful when you're
Right.
doing that. Open flames can be, obviously, there's a great
Yes.
ambiance to that, but they can be dangerous. So pets, children,
Oh, for sure.
things like that, and having candles near combustible materials.
Right.
Fall usually have lots of decorations or flowers or
yeah.
things, and you have a nice arrangement. You put your candle right there, and well, it was a little
Yeah.
bit too close. So there are other options
Mm-hmm.
out there that you can do to kind of achieve the same thing, such as candle warmers,
Okay.
or even warmed wax or things of that nature that still provide the same
The ambiance of it, for sure,
absolutely, right?
yes.
Because everybody loves that
Yeah.
beautiful fall smells and apple cider and pumpkin spice and all
Yes.
those fun things. And so there's ways to do that where
Yeah.
it's just safer.
Absolutely. And can you talk to me about if people are still going to light candles, how far should they be from combustible materials? What do you suggest?
There's no specific recommendation as
Right.
far as distance,
Okay.
but definitely you want to in an area that's definitely clear of combustible
Mm-hmm.
materials, where nothing can fall on the candle. Something where you be sure you trim the wick. You don't want a very large flame.
sure.
You want to be able to trim that down and keep the flame at a minimum. But definitely don't leave it unattended.
Yeah.
If you're going to leave the house or if you're going to be out of a room for an extended period of time, especially with pets and children,
Right.
something like that, just go ahead and blow the candle out, and that way you guys are safe for fall and you don't have to have a visit from us.
Right, absolutely. Now, as we get into Halloween and, lighting jack-o'-lanterns and things like that and leaving that unattended, what do you say about that?
Typically, there's a lot of different options there
Sure.
too, because like small battery-powered LEDs
Right.
can give you the same thing,
Yeah.
and even the flickering effect. So maybe there's a different option for that, because if you're going to leave them outside
Mm-hmm.
unattended for extended period of time, that and the flame itself will actually heat the inside of the jack-o'-lantern, and the pumpkin will start to decay faster, and they don't last
Absolutely.
as long.
Yes.
So that may be a better option.
Absolutely. And just real quickly, if someone does, have a fire from a candle, what's the best way to put it out quickly and safely?
The best way to put it out quickly and safely is to have an at-home extinguisher, a multi-rated ABC extinguisher, and know how to use it.
Sure.
So there's a lot of great information out there that you can watch. National Fire Protection Agency will have videos and such forth
fantastic.
of how to use a small extinguisher. And every home should have one in their
Yes.
kitchen as well, because very small fires are very easy to put out, and that way you don't have to have us come and put out a very large fire.
Certainly. Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Lots of important information there. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. 7:18 now on this Thursday morning. We are going to start with Skywatch Storm Trackers. So what you're seeing here are some bad radar returns, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But what we are seeing here in the Kansas and Oklahoma, these are actual, at least sprinkles, maybe a light shower or two here, there north of and south of Oswego, around the Coffeyville area, and stretching back into Newata County as well. Not much out there, nor are we anticipating much. And here's how you know these are bad radar returns, because look at it, they just suddenly appear out of nowhere. So it's not actually raining over here, unfortunately, but we have had some light showers out there in southeastern Kansas, and that'll continue to be the case as we head through the morning into the afternoon as well. This green highlighted area here on the future track, well, that would be where the opportunity for a stray shower or thunderstorm will be. So it's not rain across this whole region, which is unfortunate because we do need that rain, but at least it's an opportunity for a shower or two out there. That'll wrap up, again, I think really after about 6 o'clock, any rain chances are pretty well gone. We'll have mostly clear skies overnight tonight. A brief opportunity for another isolated shower or storm tomorrow. It'll also be windier tomorrow. Winds out of the south-southwest, gusting upwards of 20. Otherwise sunny and hot. Maybe just a cloud here or there. And we go into Saturday, it's going to be even hotter. Now we're going to start Saturday with what appeared to be mostly cloudy skies initially, and then it is going to be the hottest day we have this week as temperatures climb into the 90s across a good portion of the region for Saturday. And while the future track will stop at 1 a.m. Saturday, Sunday, it's a good place to stop. We have wind shift line, we've got another boundary coming in, and it's going to help us at least briefly with our temperatures. Here's Milton, not nearly as organized as it was before as it continues to exit the Florida Panhandle, but still packing winds upwards of 85 miles an hour out there. And it, of course, will continue to push on off to the east, having made landfall as a strong Category 3 hurricane just south of Tampa Bay. Here at home, we got some clouds out there from our camera at 7th and Range Line, 57 in Joplin. The winds are calm. We've got a mixed bag of temperatures. So we got 47 in Cassville. We've got 60 in Parsons. So we've got, again, a wide range, but the majority of us hanging out in the 50s. And that's where we'll be. 50s to start, and we'll make it up to the mid-70s by late morning. And again, an isolated shower storm out west, otherwise partly cloudy skies. Heading into the afternoon, mostly clear to partly cloudy. Our highs mid-upper 80s across the region, so 10, 12 degrees above where we should be for this time of year. As we head into the evening, again, we begin to clear out. Mostly clear skies, mid-60s by 10, right around 60 for our overnight lows, so some upper 50s, low 60s out there. And we go into tomorrow, mid-80s, upper 80s again, low 90s on Saturday. Now, that first boundary that passes through brings us down a bit to about average, upper 70s. Still warmer than where we should be, but close. Then the cold front Sunday night, look at that. Low to mid-40s Sunday night, cold again on Monday. I mean, for October, that's chilly. It's going to feel like it. Mid-60s on Monday, low 70s Tuesday. The heat returns, though, back in the low to mid-80s toward the end of next week, and an opportunity for some additional showers and thunderstorms toward the end of next week as well. That's Check Your Forecast. We will be back with more of the KOM Morning News right after this.
Well, it's hard to believe it's been 20 years since Napoleon Dynamite hit the screen. Now we're thrilled to have Efren Ramirez, the one and only Pedro, with us this morning to discuss the movie's legacy and a special screening tonight in Miami. So whether you're still voting for Pedro or reliving those epic dance moves, this is a night you don't want to miss. Good morning.
Good
Welcome
morning
to you. We're so happy to have you here. It's such an honor. So 20 years since this movie came out. How does it feel?
Strangely enough, surprisingly enough, very excited about that.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that a movie can be held so dear to people's hearts, even after 2 decades, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a part of that. And if I could be able to travel the country and celebrate with people and enjoy life as we know it, then you can make a difference in people's lives.
Absolutely, and you're going to be making a difference tonight, at this screening in Miami at the Coleman Theater, and you're being joined by John Hader, who played Napoleon, and also John Grice, who played Uncle Rico.
Correct.
So you guys do these Q&As a little bit here and there across the country. When you have that reunion and you reunite and relive that movie, what does it feel like?
Well, mind you, it's like you work as an actor, and when you work on a film, you just hope that you could embrace some kind of feeling with these other characters playing the story. But John Hader and John Grice became brothers to me, and when you're working on an independent film, all you have is each other.
Yeah.
So someone asked us about doing a Q&A and talking about the film, and it became something else. John Heder and I, and as well as John Grice, started to do these shows where we would screen the movie and then do not only a Q&A, but an interactive, immersive experience with the audience. So sometimes the audience would dress up as the characters.
Oh, yeah.
We would put them on stage and we would reenact the scenes. We have a whole musical number and we even have a time machine on stage
my gosh.
where we sort of go back in time. And
That's incredible.
it just feels great.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, because these discussions, as you're mentioning, they're interactive, and you're also meeting people from, generations, different generations, young kids, family, because it kind of is a family-friendly movie as well. Talk to me about how, impactful it is to see younger generations embracing this movie.
This film is a film where there's no special effects, there's no green screen, and all we had was each other.
Yeah.
So the fact that people can talk about it, where the grandparents would introduce it to their grandkids, or teenagers would introduce it to their parents.
Yeah.
This is a film that families can sit together, watch, and enjoy.
Yeah, that's what I did growing up. Absolutely. I mean, that was the family movie night. We watched Napoleon Dynamite.
You were either Napoleon, or you were Tina, Madrina's character Deb, or you were the Pedro, or you were the Uncle Rico.
Yeah.
So for us to see that people can relate to these characters, it's wonderful to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, talk to me a little bit about, I don't want to spoil it for anyone attending tonight, any behind the scenes moments from the movie that you can tell us about looking back on that were really special?
I think there's a lot of moments where because it was such an independent film, about a third of the characters in the film are based on real people in real life. Like Lyle the farmer.
Sure.
We thought, well, who's going to play this role?
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just hire Lyle the farmer?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. And I think he's the only one who was able and who was allowed to improvise throughout the entire film.
Oh, how funny is that? Because he was great.
Oh yeah.
Like amazingly great. So that's so cool. I didn't even know that. You would have thought that he was a well-working actor. And now, for people who want to keep up with you, who might not be able to attend tonight's screening, you have some projects coming out. Would you like to talk to me briefly about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. I have a film with Danny Trejo called Seven Cemeteries, and it comes out on Friday.
Oh, exciting.
It's an ode to the Magnificent Seven, or the Seven Samurai, where it's a horror / comedy.
Yeah.
Where Danny Trejo kind of has to bring out 7 dead people to take on the bad guy, and I play Miguel, and I work right along with him to go against the bad guy, who played by Sal Lopez. But it's got all these wonderful actors in
absolutely.
it. So, yeah.
It sounds amazing. Well, congratulations on that as well. And remember, you don't want to miss this exclusive one-night experience happening tonight at the Coleman Theater. We'll, of course, have details on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Of course, thank you so much for being with us this morning. It was an honor.
Oh, yeah, of course. My pleasure.
Happy to have you. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:32. I'm Elise Noe. Well, some Cherokee County groups teamed up to assist people in need of low-income housing. Now, the Cherokee County Health Department and the USDA Rural Development Program will host an event next Tuesday on how to fill out applications for Section 502 and 504 housing. Event organizers hope to also provide information on the financial impacts of low-income housing and on low-income energy assistance.
Whether is this going to make my house value go up, or how is this going to make my insurance maybe go up or down since it's more safe? That way then maybe their cost of their insurance may be lowered, various different things like that. And also, we're also going to have another individual there that will help out with LEAP, so the local low-income energy assistance program as well.
The event will be held at the Crossroads Christian Church on October 15th at 2 p.m. Well, a candidate for the U.S. Senate made a stop in Southwest Missouri last night. Lucas Coons hosted a rally at VFW Post 534 in Joplin. The 13-year Marine veteran is running for the Senate seat currently held by Josh Hawley. At the event yesterday, Coons talked about his platform of running for everyday Missourians.
The biggest thing on me in this campaign is that the only people I want to owe are everyday Missourians like those in that old neighborhood. So I take no money from corporate PACs, no money from federal lobbyists, no money from big pharma executives. None of these people who've been buying off our, weak-minded, ambitious, hungry politicians and using them to strip our communities for parts.
Well, after 3 deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan, Lucas was stationed at the Pentagon where he served on the Joint Staff. Last month, we told you about 13-year-old Joplin teen Drake May and the art club he helped create for other kids. Well, yesterday, Drake and members of the art club took a field trip to the Joplin Humane Society. The group got to see how the JHS operates, where the animals stay, and found out how to volunteer.
Little tour to see if their animal got adopted, and hopefully they did. But if not, they are going to put a copy of their artwork with the animal. So if they do get adopted, hopefully, then they get to take the artwork home with them as well. The new owners get to take the artwork home.
Now the trip comes as a follow-up to last week's class where the kids practiced pet portraits. Well, the Wood Farm Pumpkin Patch is celebrating 19 years this year, and age doesn't matter as there's something for everyone to do when you visit. A few new additions include a kiddie carnival ride and rat rollers.
The main thing we hear is family tradition. We've heard it this year more than ever. With it being our 19th season, we are seeing and hearing from families who brought their children out, and they're now bringing their children and their grandchildren out.
Wood Farm's Pumpkin Patch is open every weekend from now until October 27th from noon to 6 p.m. Now let's check in with Chris for another look at the forecast.
Yeah, we're going to start with a look outside. Take a look at this sunrise from our camera in downtown Pittsburgh. Got a few clouds out there, a little bit of haze as well. Some smoke from wildfires out to the west. Otherwise, not a bad start to the day. Looking pretty good from our camera at 7th and Rangeline as well. And that would actually be a little bit of rain trying to fall on parts of the area. And we've got some showers out there. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline, a little cloudier looking back to the southwest. And over on the Kansas side, not too bad. KDOT camera 69 East 5, 20th Avenue. Skywatch Storm Tracker. Again, most of what you're seeing here is not actually real. It just kind of showed up. But we do have some showers south of Coffeyville now, and then we'll drag this sucker over. We've got one west of Columbus, so in between Oswego and Columbus out there. And then, as you saw on our camera at 7th and Rangeline, at least part of this is actual rainfall, but a lot of it, if you watch this loop, it just suddenly pops up. So not all of that's real rain, but what is out here is, and we'll have isolated chances for a shower or thunderstorm in our western counties out there as we head through the morning into the afternoon. These are going to be relatively isolated. We're not going to see much out of them, but at least for some of us, it's some kind of chance of rain. Temperatures 57, Joplin 55 in Pittsburgh and around the region. We've had some cool locations. Cassville, for example, at 47. The rest of us, for the most part, holding out in the 50s as we get our Thursday underway. Highs today, though, mid-upper 80s, an isolated storm or two out west, and skies clearing a bit as we head into the evening. We're going to be even hotter on Saturday ahead of a cold front Sunday. We'll look at all those details for you here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. A science project aims to help connect students from different continents. We'll have the details on how one little boat is bridging the gap. In Consumer Watch this morning, the FDA gives the green light for the first at-home COVID-19 and flu test with no prescription needed. The agency announced the authorization of the Allegiant Rapid Check COVID-19 and flu A and B antigen test for outside emergency use on Monday. Now, the FDA says the test uses a nasal swab to deliver results in about 15 minutes. And the agency says people ages 14 and up can take the test on their own, while those 2 years and older will need adult supervision. Well, a hotel chain announces new upgrades to its security system to combat future data hacks. Marriott International says it will invest $52 million into improving its data security following major breaches that affected more than 300 million customers worldwide. Marriott is agreeing to create a robust security program to keep its customers' data safer moving forward. Well, Hurricane Helene knocks out a factory in North Carolina for a company that makes IV bags. That's led to a nationwide shortage, as Fox's Grace Haba reports.
Baxter revealed its North Cove facility in Marion flooded after a levee breach caused by Hurricane Helene. The manufacturer says it has stopped the production of critical IV fluids and is limiting how much facilities can order as a result.
When we don't receive the supply that we are anticipating, that forces us to think differently.
The North Carolina facility produces roughly 1.5 million fluid bags a day. That's 60% of our nation's supply.
There are numerous different sizes of IV solution bags impacted coming out of this one plant. We know that certain kinds of procedures require large amounts of these IV fluids, and there are certainly hospitals around the country who are needing to look at procedures that are scheduled and delay them.
All three Triangle hospital systems tell us they are working to conserve current inventory and prioritize patients who need the fluids most.
Our routine, necessary cases continue. What we're really prioritizing is the care that really should take place in a timely manner and reevaluating elective and non-urgent care.
Baxter says the company will spare no resource, human or financial, to resume production. But because of sanitation requirements, exactly when the facility will be up and running again is unclear.
But I think we need to be ready for weeks to months of bridging until that facility or whatever combination of stacked hands efforts gets us back to the supply that we're used to seeing nationwide.
And those are our top consumer stories. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 7:44 now on this Thursday morning, starting with the Skywatch Storm Tracker. So we got a little radar anomaly. Most of what you're seeing over here in Missouri is not actually there, but we do still have some showers out there. One just outside of Washington County in Oklahoma, stray little sprinkles south of Coffeyville, around the Columbus area. Not really all that much, and we've had at least part of this activity showing up around Joplin is actually real because we've seen it from our camera at 7th and Rangeline, just a little light shower. And that's really going to be the case throughout the day. Most of the activity, what we do see, which will be very limited, will be confined in our far western counties out there. But on the future track, in the green highlighted areas, that's going to give you the idea as to where we could see an isolated shower or storm. It is unfortunately not an indication that there will be rain across that whole area, but that's where we could see a stray shower, maybe, or even a thunderstorm or two as we head through the afternoon and into the early evening hours. Overnight tonight, we will be mostly clear and still mild. Tomorrow, another hot day, sunny. We could still see, again, a brief opportunity for a shower or storm in the same zones really as today, but I think the majority of us, like today as well, will be dry. We'll also be breezy. Winds start gusting upwards of 20 miles an hour out of the south-southwest. As we head down the road through Friday, it's going to be another warm evening again Friday night into Saturday, and by the time we get to Saturday, initially starting the day partly to mostly cloudy. But that will not stop it from clearing later and from heating up. In fact, Saturday will be our hottest day this week with our temperatures pushing into the 90s. Then we have a couple of things happening Sunday. We've got a boundary that's going to come through early Sunday morning. That will help a bit with our temperatures on Sunday. And then a cold front later that's going to help a lot, although briefly. All right, Milton exiting the Florida Peninsula, still Category 1 strength with winds around 85 miles an hour as it continues to push off to the east. Of course, coming on shore south of Tampa Bay is a strong Category 3 center of circulation now out over the Atlantic, and it will continue to push on off to the east. But still, nonetheless, leaving behind a lot of devastation for Florida. All right, this is what I'm talking about. See how this cloud is kind of pulling down a bit? That is because there's at least a little light shower activity coming with it. Outside of that, though, it's partly cloudy, 57 in Joplin right now. And around the area, we've still got that mixed bag of temperatures, 47. Cassville, Miami is a couple of the cooler spots. 60 in Parsons is the warmer location. And in between that, most of us in the 50s. Some of us close to normal, some a little below, some a little above. So again, isolated shower or storm out west. Otherwise, partly cloudy skies, mid-70s by 11 o'clock this morning. Highs today, again, going upper 80s out there with those isolated storm chances. Those come to a close later this evening. Mostly clear skies, mid-60s by 10, lows into the upper 50s and low 60s tonight. And then again, tomorrow, hot upper 80s, hotter Saturday, low 90s. That first boundary brings us to the upper 70s Sunday. Then that cold front later in the day, look at that. Low to mid 40s Sunday night and only into the mid 60s next Monday. So pretty darn chilly compared to what we've seen. But like what we've seen, it doesn't last. Back in the low to mid 80s next week toward the end of the week, and at least a few more shower and thunderstorm chances. That's Check Your Forecast. We're back with more right after this.
You've heard of a message in a bottle, but what about a bulletin in a boat? That's what turned up across the pond after students here in the U.S. launched the tiny vessel as part of a science project.
Now, kids in the UK are preparing to send it sailing again. Tina Kraus has the story from London.
This little boat is about to set sail on an epic expedition, and where it will end up, nobody knows.
That's the excitement of the project, I think, in that it could be a child in Brazil, it could be a child in Antigua that contacts us and says, hey, I found your boat.
That's what happened after students in Rhode Island launched the miniature vessel 2 years ago as part of a science project.
I was a little surprised because I didn't know that it would end up in the UK.
The boat, called Inspiration, spent 245 days at sea, traveling 9,000 miles across the Atlantic before washing up on a beach in England and landing in a local elementary school.
It was really unexpected because it's come from such a long way away.
The tiny yacht had a GPS system so students could track it while learning about ocean currents, weather, and technology.
Looking at the tracking of where it went, it was going like in big waves, it was going round in circles, and it almost looked like it was going to go to Italy.
The 3.5-foot watercraft even carried some transatlantic treasure.
So there is a uniform from Rhode Island University.
Students and local Sea Scouts have been working with builders to get the battered boat in ship shape for another adventure, filling it with photos, notes, and instructions for whoever discovers it next. When it heads out to sea on a new journey later this year.
That is cool.
I know, I can't believe it. A rowing team will take the mini boat across the Atlantic in December and launch it from southern Spain.
Now, students say they're anxious to find out where the boat ends up next, and I'm sure it's going to have another exciting journey out there.
It's
very
super
cool to see where it goes.
If I was young and that came into my school, I would be blown away.
That would be awesome.
Super awesome.
Very awesome. Well, we've got a not so awesome forecast in terms of the lack of rain, but we do have a couple of showers out there. We've got one near Columbus in Cherokee County, a couple outside of Washington County, and a stray sprinkle or two just to the southwest of Erie. And that's going to be the case for us today out west. We're going to have an opportunity for an isolated shower or thunderstorm. So in the green highlighted areas, that's where we could see a shower or storm today. Most of us will remain dry, and what we do see today will be very limited. We'll have that opportunity again on our Friday, also very limited. Otherwise, we are going to have mostly clear skies. And it's going to be breezy. Winds out of the south-southwest, gusting upwards of 20. And then we'll even heat up more on our Saturday. All right, Milton, still Category 1 storm, but the center of circulation is now off of the Florida Panhandle, out east across the Atlantic. And a quick look at temperatures around our area. Again, a mixed bag. We got some cool spots, 47, Cassville, Miami, 60 in Parsons. Not a bad start to the day overall. We'll have another look at your forecast and the news you need to know right after this.
Well, here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Northeast Oklahoma authorities are investigating the discovery of a body. The Ottawa County Sheriff's Office confirms the discovery of a man's body near 22nd Northeast at the Tar Creek Bridge. Now, the Grand River Dam Authority has requested assistance from the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation and the Miami Police at what they call a suspicious death crime scene. And the U.S. Supreme Court heard oral arguments regarding an appeal for Richard Glossip. Glossip was convicted of arranging the murder of a man in 1997. The High Court must determine if state courts should review allegations that prosecutors withheld evidence relevant to the case. Now, the novelty of the case is the fact that both the state and the inmate agree the conviction should be overturned.
All right, isolated shower or storm in our western counties. Otherwise, mostly clear, partly cloudy, hot. Temperatures upper 80s out there. This evening, mostly clear skies will eventually fall back upper 50s and low 60s. As we head into tomorrow, much of the same, but a slightly lesser chance of an isolated storm or two. Low 90s Saturday, boundary Sunday morning brings us closer to normal than a cold front Sunday night. It will make us feel downright cold. Mid-60s Monday, but it is short-lived, back to the low to mid-80s toward the end of next week with another opportunity for some isolated showers and storms by next Friday.
Definitely need, so that'd be great. Well, New Yorkers gathered for a potluck meal last Sunday as part of the Longest Table, an annual event aimed at bringing communities in the city together. Now, footage shows diners eating al fresco and multiple tables lined up with each other on the street in the city's Chelsea neighborhood Sunday afternoon.
According to local reports, the large-scale lunch began in 2022 after the pandemic lockdown lifted, and one of the event's founders wanted to find new ways to reconnect with her neighbors. Certainly a unique way to do that as well.
Sure, yeah.
Or a big lunch table.
Certainly is their family style.
It's certainly, yeah, definitely big family
style. Big family style.
Well, thank you all so much for letting us put the good into your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather today at noon.
Have a great rest of your morning.